Welcome again from Warwick Bass Camp 2016, yet another great edition of this fantastic festival, and we're here with our special guest today actually, Mr. Alex Skolnick.
Hello. It's great to be here.
It's fantastic, but tell us, what are you doing here? It's a bass camp.
I know, what the hell am I doing here? It's an amazing thing. I got invited to be here and be the house guitarist for all these bass players. And
house guitarists for all these bass players, and they're playing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play with every single one, but quite a few. And they told me, yeah, it's going to be all guitar players as professors. I'm sorry, it's going to be all bass players.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be the one guitar professor, and then there's a drummer. And I said, who's the drummer? And they said, Dennis Chambers. And I said, oh, I should be paying you. And I know I'm going to be playing with Dennis Chambers and Alfonso Johnson, Setsuo Sakurai from Japan, and Dennis Chambers. And it's kind of mind-blowing, actually, because like these are guys that I've seen over the years, and I have albums by Weather Report and Santana that these guys are on. I sort of suddenly be here like working with these guys. It's surreal. And it's really awesome.
As you said, you were chosen as a house guitarist, and I have to say it's the best choice, because I guess you can play just everything. You've done metal, thrash metal, testament, play jazz. Is there anything you can't play?
Classical piano, which I listen to a lot, but
you can still learn.
I probably could if I just really focused on it.
But I guess
and actually proper classical guitar, I don't do. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I have great appreciation for I have some good friends that do it. But to me, that's almost like a different instrument. I sometimes wish I had taken some time and worked on that a little more. But I think having gotten into rock and heavy metal at an early age, and all the work that it takes, just to be able to play licks by Randy Rhoads and Van Halen. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of technique, and then to sort of start over doing jazz and learning Pat Metheny, Stern, Schofield, Wes Montgomery. That's a whole. So there was just no room for classical guitar.
And I guess you are pretty busy, because the Brotherhood of the Snake is ready.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's going to come out in October.
Mm-hmm. And what can we expect from this album?
A lot of riffs.
That's good.
I think it's a little more of a riffy album.
Mm-hmm.
Testament's a band that sort of can only work on its own schedule, and you never know how that's going to be. We were touring a lot over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think finally the record just had to get done, and I sent in a bunch of melodic ideas. I think like a classic way we would write it, a song like Into the Pit, right? The introduction riff with the harmonies. That's me, and then Eric is and you can find there's a lot of songs you can trace that are like that.
So yeah, that was your way of writing the Testament's music always? When you was in band?
Well, once I joined the band, I think some of the earlier songs were, like you could take like the earliest songs, like stuff like Raging Waters, for example. That's pure riffs. But then you take a song like The Haunting, for example, right? With single notes and stuff. That's more what I do. And then you have that's Eric. So I think to me the classic way of a song is like that. But then when I wasn't in the band, they did an album called The Gathering, which is a great album. And it's more riff based, less of the. There's some single note stuff, but not quite as much. And I think this record's going to be more like that. It's more of a riffy thing. I did.
The fans will be pleased.
Huh?
Fans will be pleased.
I think so. I think if you're a fan of the more melodic harmony stuff, maybe you'll want to wait for the next record. But as far as like energy and intensity, it's definitely there. And there's some solos I did that I'm proud of. But it's just dynamically it's a little different than the others. But I've got other stuff out as well. I mean, I have a live trio album that's coming out.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about it.
Yeah, that's coming out in the month before, in September, next month. And that was recorded live in the studio with a couple songs recorded live on tour. I actually did a European tour last February, including Poland.
Yeah.
And we did a couple live tracks in Germany that just came out so well that got recorded. They had the recording equipment at these venues, and those tracks are going to be on the record. And then Metal Allegiance just did an EP called Fallen Heroes, and that was fun, and I play all the guitars on that.
I want to ask you about the difference between playing jazz and playing metal, because these two are very different genres of music, right?
Yeah.
So,
extreme.
what is the main difference? Is it the approach, or no equipment you use?
Well, there's definitely equipment. It's definitely, you have different musicians too. I'm going to play very differently with a.
So it's maybe the way you think about music.
Well, if I play with, for example, an upright bass player and a drummer, like I do with my trio, it's a very different dynamic. If I'm playing metal, whether it's with Testament or Metal Allegiance, there's a wall of amplifiers, and everything is pretty much on 10 the whole time. Although that's not always true in Metal Allegiance, because we have a couple songs where there's dynamics and it breaks down a little bit. But with jazz, it's all about the dynamics. There's moments where it can get very quiet, or it can get very loud, and you have the freedom to play with those dynamics. So that's one of the things that I like about it. It's going to be fun at this camp because there's a couple of jazz fusion things where it's a little bit of both. It can reach like a metal level of intensity, but it can also get quiet. And I'm playing. These are all electric basses. So and actually the idea of doing this first came about earlier this year, because I did a tour with Stu Ham, who's a great bass player, and his stuff is more jazz rock. He's kind of known for his work with Satriani and Vai, but he does some jazz rock stuff, and the guys from Warwick heard us and just thought this made sense. And it's fun because I can give a class and I can talk about a walking bass line and an approach to changes, but I can also talk about James Hetfield and his percussive rhythm technique and how that actually applies to bass as well.
And a lot of people thinks that jazz music is more, I would say, sophisticated, maybe than metal. How do you think about it? What do you think?
It's different. I mean, it's easy to say, but I think there is some metal that is probably more sophisticated than the overall the genre gets credit for.
For example,
Meshuggah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Opeth?
Huh?
Opeth?
Opeth, yeah, for sure. There's definitely some sophistication going on there. And then, some people, not everybody, when some people say the word jazz, it means different things to different people. I tend to think of, classic, straight ahead music, or music that has that aesthetic. I mean, even like the original fusion of the 70s, to me, it still had some of the, the process that the classic jazz had, as far as the improvisation and the dynamics and the song forms. There's a whole like commercial element of jazz that I don't relate to at all. If people like it, that's fine. I don't really like it. It's known as smooth jazz, which is more like pop music, and maybe there's a short.
Yeah, it's really friendly.
Yeah, and that's I don't relate to that. And some people actually call that jazz. I don't. So it really depends on what type of music you're talking about. But some of that music, which is really more like instrumental pop, I don't think it's that sophisticated. So so you can, sure, if I'm comparing, say, John Coltrane live at the Village Vanguard to, also that's very sophisticated music, and I might point to, Motorhead live at Hammersmith, which is awesome. It's great music.
It's pretty simple.
Is it sophisticated? Yeah, exactly. But then there's nothing wrong with liking it. There's nothing wrong with, I think there's nothing wrong with liking both. And I relate to both. And there are musicians out there that actually relate to both. I'm a big fan of John Zorn, for example. And that's somebody who, cites Charlie Parker as an influence, but also Slayer and Mushu.
And let's talk about the guitars, because how many guitars do you actually own?
Oh God, it's embarrassing.
Why?
Because of how many. Like I
Too many.
Okay, I have a confession. I just bought one the day before I came here. I was in between tours. Testament finished up in the Motor Culture Festival in Western France. And there were a few days off between that and this camp, so I decided to stay in Paris. And I was hearing all this great music, and Django Reinhardt, and I'd actually transcribed a little gypsy lick that I posted online. And I just thought, okay, just for fun, I'm gonna go explore the music shops and just try some of these guitars. And of course, I found one that's just amazing. I just couldn't put it down.
What was it?
It's a Manouche guitar, hand built. The Django Reinhardt style. And it was crazy because I'm already carrying the guitar with me. Normally I've this guitar. It would have gone home with all the other band equipment, or gotten stored here. But no, I'm carrying an instrument with me for the camp. The last thing I have is room for another instrument. But anyway, so I told myself, all right, if I'm gonna buy this, I need to get rid of the guitar. So I have definitely over 30, in the neighborhood of 30 to 40.
Okay.
Which I think is insane, and there's no reason somebody should have that many guitars.
So the favorite one is?
Well, it depends on the application. Okay, the great thing I have now, I have a great signature guitar, the ESP Alex Skolnick, and it's based on. We work together on it, and it just has qualities of some of my favorite guitars. They've also made several of them for me, and they're all equal. And I can get another one made; it's no problem. Some stores have them, and so it's great to have that kind of flexibility, especially when you're traveling all over the world and you're.
You just go anywhere and you take them.
Yeah. For this European, we've done a lot of European shows, and it just made sense to have an instrument that lives here. So there was one that was already over here, and it plays as good as my other one. So that's a great situation, and fans can buy it. People buy it, and there's an LTD version, which is a more affordable version. So that's my most versatile, practical guitar, and I can use that for anything. But for other situations, I use different guitars depending on what it is. So for the trio, for example, I can do a nice clean jazz sound on my electric, but to really get an acoustic jazz sound, I have a semi-hollow body made by Graniu. And it's really nice. It's called the Montreal Premiere. And for my last solo recording was the album Planetary Collision, which is all with world music artists. Mm-hmm. And I used some Yamaha acoustics on that. Also some instruments by Graniu that are not traditional guitars. One of them is more like an oud. Mm-hmm. So it depends on the situation. So I would say, like, for practicality and overall use, my favorite is my ESP Alex Skolnick. As far as like sentimental value, well, I like guitars with stories behind them, and I have a few.
Something unique.
Yeah, well, okay, so like the one I just bought,
mm-hmm.
Manouche guitar. Yeah. That, it's not some company you've heard of. It's some builder. Everybody in Paris probably knows this guy. I think it's Atelier. But anyway, so I have a Django gypsy guitar that I bought in Paris. That's very cool.
And that is a story.
Yeah, it's a story. I have a Telecaster
mm-hmm.
that I got in Nashville.
Whoa.
And that's a great story. I was at Grun Guitars, which is a legendary vintage guitar shop in Nashville, and I was on tour with Rodrigo y Gabriela and a great acoustic duo, they're also on my album.
Mm-hmm.
And my trio was supporting them, and we were playing the Ryman in Nashville, which is a legendary venue, home of the Grand Ole Opry. And the guitar store is right next door. And I was playing these, they have vintage mm-hmm. Telecasters, so I'm playing these Telecasters, and one of them's like $10,000. It's a 1950s Tele. This plays nice, but God, who would pay this much for this? I play another one. Here's a $15,000 one. Oh, let's play this one. And then I played another one, and this was the best of all. Okay, this one played better than the other ones. I said, okay, I'll bet this one's $25,000. And I saw the price tag, and the guy said, no, that's $2,500. What? 2009.
Okay.
It's a relic. It's a copy of a 1950 Nocaster. They copy it. You gotta be kidding me. This is, So, and at that point, I didn't need another guitar, but so I ended up buying the guitar. I played it at the Ryman in Nashville. So and everybody who's played that just thinks it's one of the best Teles they've ever played. So that's a special guitar. And then another special one I have is an L5, the Gibson L5. It was the first jazz guitar I bought. And at the time, I guess since then, probably the most expensive mm-hmm. guitar I bought. But I forced myself to really get serious about jazz guitar when I bought that guitar. And I just said, if I'm not playing jazz at a professional level, within a couple of years, the guitar goes back.
Okay. And
it's a blonde L5, and it's exactly like the guitar that Wes Montgomery is playing on the album Live at the Subo, which is in Berkeley, and I'm from Berkeley, and I bought the guitar in Berkeley. So it has all this, and the guitar was owned by a Bay Area jazz guitarist named Calvin Keys. So, it's...
Everything is connected.
Yeah, so when I have stories like then it's special. And that's when I'm into like collection and sentimentality. So
okay.
As much as I might love a brand new guitar that I'll get, there's kind of no comparison with guitars like that. But also those guitars, I don't want them to leave the house. When I go on tour, I need a guitar that if something happens, hopefully not, I can replace it.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to
you're welcome.
meet you here.
Thank you.